Mediaworks can no longer make a profit in television, so it's put itself up for sale. The station's 500 staff were called to a meeting this morning and told the company would keep making radio but sell off its TV arm because it's no longer financially viable. Chief Executive Michael Anderson told our reporter Madison Reidy and cameraman Nick Monro that whilst rumours the network could be closed by Christmas were wrong, a quick sale is needed.
The last 3 years, we have consistently improved our ratings. We've improved our prime time consistency. We have improved our revenue shares every year. And so when you look at operational performance, for 3 years we've been consistently improving on every metric. In that same time, I've been more and more openly, publicly, as well as with government, talking about the structural issues that the free-to-air TV market was facing, and they were becoming more and more evident. There's the one that everybody knows, which is obviously the global players coming in, disrupting, taking audience, taking revenue share. And that particularly hurts New Zealand because it's less than 5 million people. So it's right on the forefront of that disruption. There's not a lot of leeway, not a lot of give when you've only got 5 million versus 25 million in Australia versus 250 million. And so I think New Zealand's feeling that disruption quite quickly in the free-to-air market. And then again, I've been very open saying that it's not a particular behaviour by TVNZ that you could point to and go, they're doing something inappropriate. They're being a market leader. They're being a market dominant leader. And everything that they're doing, I can understand why they would do that.
So is it TVNZ's fault?
No. So what it is I actually, my view is that the structural inequality that has been slowly but methodically, and I think inadvertently, created over the years through successive governments, through successive decisions. There's been various points where decisions have been made that have consolidated TVNZ's leadership position, whether that be, from the beginning of its life where it was granted no debt, whether it be the new premises that it was able to create, whether it be paying no dividends like currently when they're moving into loss. All of those things gradually enable the market leader to consolidate its position. And so now you've got a situation where the government is no longer a bystander. On one hand, it needs a healthy, vibrant market, but on the other hand, as a market dominant player, invested in maximising its profit and protecting its own future, then you've got a conflict going on. And more, I see that structural inequality adding to the global trends that we're seeing. And then this year, throw in a TV market that's declined more radically than it has in revenue terms, more radically than it has in a long time. And all of those three factors have come to play with our view that Mediaworks is no longer the owner that can actually drive a sustainable profit on TV.
How dire is Mediaworks' financial positions, specifically with its TV operations?
Yeah, so I'll probably just separate that. There's a very different position to Mediaworks financial and TV. So this is all about TV. In radio and out of home, there's growth and strong growth. And so those businesses are high-performing businesses. The TV business has been in loss since I got here and was in loss for a number of years before that. Over the last number of years, we've really been able to reduce that loss very significantly to the point of moving towards break even. This year, the market has brought into stark relief that all of those trends make it a very uncertain position. It makes it very, very difficult to operationally, from our position, from our competitive position, makes it very difficult to get to a sustainable profit.
Should the government bail you out?
Again, been very clear through this whole conversation, we've never asked the government for a bailout for Mediaworks or TV3.
By putting TV3 up for sale, are you in a way asking for the government's help though?
No, there's two things. We've argued all along the way that this is an industry issue and we argued that TVNZ would eventually find itself also in loss, that this was a pending problem, and so all of the conversations with government have been about industry support in order to try and balance it to make it a healthy industry. So that's been consistent. Putting Mediaworks TV up for sale is a commercial decision driven by all of that discussion that we've had and enabling that decision. You know, it suggested earlier that this was a sort of a big bluff to try and force government into some sort of action. And I can categorically deny that that's the case. You would never put your people through this as a bluff. So this is, with all the information we have, this is, we believe, the best decision to make for Mediaworks and for TV3.
How many staff has Mediaworks sent to Japan to cover the Rugby World Cup?
I couldn't tell you off the cuff, but it's probably around 10.
The reason I ask is because could you not have been possibly more prudent with your spending?
In hindsight, yes, but as you would be aware, that all of those accommodation and flights were booked more than 12 months ago, and were not cancelable. And so 12 months ago, we had no understanding and no idea that we were going to find ourselves in this position.
Is News Hub important to society?
I think it's critical. I think that any local news is an important asset for any country. I think it's more important for New Zealand than in most, because you don't have a lot of diversity here. You've got, everywhere you look, you've got businesses that are challenged, news businesses that are challenged. You've got 2 free-to-air, you've got 2 2 newspapers, and you've got obviously RNZ, which is not a commercial beast. But when you look at it, it's very important to maintain that diversity, and so we're very proud of what News Hub has become and what it achieves and what it delivers, and we're very conscious that a functioning democracy needs diversity of news.
Then why sell it?
Because we would hope that a new buyer will find a way to be able to continue that and potentially even resource it more effectively than we've been able to.
And who could buy TV3? You know this market better than most. Throw me some names.
It's why we're going through a process, and I'm not going to throw you any names. We're going through the process because it's an open and transparent process, and it's designed not to have a presumption about who the potential buyers could be. We go to market at the same time through our advisor, and everyone has the opportunity to express interest. So your guess is as good as mine at this point in time, and I'm not going to guess.
What if you can't sell it? What happens then?
Yeah, I've been asked that question pretty well everywhere I've gone today. One, we are confident that there will be a buyer there. If we're unable to sell, then this is one of the options that the board has considered. We believe it's the best option we have available to us for both TV and for Mediaworks overall. If we found ourselves in a situation where it was not sold, then the board would discuss what those other options are. But there are so many different variables that can happen through this process, as well as in the intervening time, that any conjecture about what that might look like would be misleading, probably. Is
closing News Hub down and TV3 down an option on the table?
I think coming back to the point you made before, and I know I'm going to sound like I'm avoiding this, but it's really important, I think, for the integrity of the process that we're about to go into, and for the integrity of our relationship with our staff, that we talk about the options that are there, and there are more than one option. This is not linear. This is not, we start this process and then there's an inevitable outcome. That is absolutely not the case. And that's why the board will consider all of the inputs as we go through, and that's why we need this process. And it's day one of the process, so that's the focus at this point in time.
That's Mediaworks Chief Executive Michael Anderson speaking to our reporter Madison Reidy. And you can watch Madison's interview on our Checkpoint Facebook page as well as the RNZ website.